Hey, everybody, we are live. So excited. Haven't been live in some time. Obviously, wasn't live last night. Had some work out in the putting a shed together in the heat, and it buried me quite literally. So I wanted to go live tonight. I'm planning to go live on Tuesday and Thursday. Who knows? Maybe even Wednesday, but definitely tomorrow and Thursday. So tonight is Monday, August 5th. Can't believe it's already August. There's less than 50 games left. Let's see. Hello, Nathaniel. He's in the house. He says, let's go. There's less than 50 games left in the regular season for baseball teams, for Major League Baseball. So how crazy is that? This season, in a lot of ways, for me, has just flown by. It's been quite a weird season for many teams, including my St. Louis Cardinals and even the Mets, both teams started off very poorly at the beginning of the year and have really turned it on. I know the Mets played the Cardinals today. Was kind of an early game. It was a makeup for like a rainout earlier in the season. And the Mets won 6-0. Gabriel's here in the house. Glad to have you on board, Gabriel. All right. So we're going to talk tonight about a team I think is the new worst team ever in Major League Baseball. And you can debate me. Hello, Zoe Geyser. Glad to have you on board. The new worst team in Major League Baseball. Now, first off, the Chicago White Sox currently, and they're about 40 minutes away from game time. Nathaniel says, Zoe, let's go. They're about 40 minutes from game time, and they're playing Oakland like I said, in 40 minutes from the time of this. And so they right now have, I got a bunch of likes of some fake accounts. Okay, well, that's interesting. Fake accounts. All right. But they have 20 losses right now, which is not the record in Major League Baseball. It's not even the record in the American League. They have 20 losses in a row. Right now, they're 27-87. They have 48 games left. Okay, they have 48 games left. And I'll be going into why that's significant here shortly. But the Chicago White Sox are 27-87. Currently, the pitchers on their team with the most wins is Garrett Crochet. He's 6-8. Now there is a very good chance that he will not reach double-digit wins. So they will not have a pitcher with double-digit wins. Although the one pitcher they traded to the Cardinals, Fetty, he had, I think, 7 wins. So he probably would have gotten 10 or 11 wins this year, probably. But Crochet's their best pitcher. He's pitched in 118 innings, and he has over 162 strikeouts with a 3.19 ERA. So probably on any other team, he's even. He's 6-8. He's even. Maybe he's 8-6. Maybe he's 10-8. Something like that would be my guess on almost any other team. So the Chicago White Sox have 20 losses in a row. There have been in history 4 other teams that have had 20 losses in a row, and there's 2 teams that have more losses. But let's go through the 20 losses in a row, okay, before we get any further. In 1906, the Boston Red Sox lost 20 games in a row. In 1916, which would have been, I believe, Philadelphia Athletics, lost 20 in a row. In 1943, which I do believe as well is Philadelphia Athletics, they lost 20 in a row. And the 1969 Washington Senators, who are now the Texas Rangers, lost 20 games in a row. All right. So you like my hat. Good job. Thank you, Nathaniel. Who do I think will win today? In what? What sport? What are we talking about? Olympics? We talking baseball? The Cardinals already lost today, so I don't know. Okay, so those are the 4 other teams that have 20 losses. Now in 2024, we have the Chicago White Sox with 20 losses. In 1988, and we'll go over all this in just a second, okay? In 1988, the Baltimore Orioles with Cal Ripken, Eddie Murray, they lost 21 games in a row. And in 1961, a lowly Philadelphia Phillies team lost 23 games in a row. Now, they're a pretty bad team. I mean, I mean, saying that you're worse than the 1961 Philadelphia Phillies is really saying something. That was a really bad team. They had one Hall of Famer on the team. He was a pitcher, Robin Roberts, and he went 1-10 with I have it in my notes here, but like a 4 or 5 ERA. He had just an awful season. Of course, he was better in the 50s. So, the White Sox and the A's. Oh, the White Sox and the A's. That's a very good question, Nathaniel. Now, here's the thing. Now that I've had this episode where I talk about the White Sox being the worst team ever in Major League Baseball, they'll probably win. However, the Oakland Athletics are a much better team. They're, I think, 20 games better, something like 47-60, something like that, somewhere around there. So I was looking at that earlier. And so they're kind of the favorites in this, at least the way I see it. So, yeah. Yeah, I didn't really watch the Cardinals game. I was in an all-day training for work. So, but okay, getting back to the Chicago White Sox, none of their starting pitchers are at 500. Well, they have one starting pitcher at 500. He's been in 9 games. He's started all 9. His name is Drew Thorpe. He's 3-3 with a 5.48 ERA. Okay. Jonathan Cannon is 1-5. Michael Soroka is 0-10. Now he's played in 22 games and started 9. So maybe he's an everyday starter now because they got rid of Fetty, but he's been in a lot more games than he started. Chris Flexen has been in 24 games and started 22 of those, and he's 2-11. And as I said, Garrett Crochet has he's 6-8. He's their best pitcher. He's probably a 2 or 3 guy on any other team. Probably he's their number 1 guy. He has a 3.19 ERA. His wins and losses are not great at 6-8. But like I said, he's pitched in 118 innings, but has 162 strikeouts, which is a former fantasy baseball fanatic. That's a huge statistic. His strikeouts per 9 innings is off the charts good. So he's the real deal. They did trade away half their offense, essentially. They traded away Tommy Pham. They traded away Paul DeYoung. They also traded away one of their top 2 best pitchers. So they've gotten rid of a lot of folks. Yes, interesting stats. Excellent data mining. Oh, thank you very much, Ron. Appreciate that. And so you're saying that the Oakland A's are 19 games better. Yes. So they're the favorites, I would say. They should have gotten rid of Crochet at the deadline. I'm really surprised they haven't. I think any team would have been, the old expression, licking their chops to get him. I mean, he 119 innings and 162 strikeouts. Like, there aren't a lot of people that do that. A good pitcher would have 119 innings pitched and 119 strikeouts, but to have 162, 40 more strikeouts than innings pitched is unbelievable, at least in fantasy land or fantasy baseball, I guess. How do I feel? Well, the Cardinals got Fetty from the White Sox, and they got Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham was a Cardinal years ago, and I liked him. I think he's a little bit of a hothead and maybe a loose cannon himself. He got mad at some fans in Arizona last year. He, after one game this year when he was still with the White Sox, he was talking about how he wanted to fight people and stuff, and he's ready to fight and all that kind of stuff. So he's a little bit of a hothead. But the pitcher they got, Fetty, he had a really bad first outing for the Cardinals. He gave up 5 runs, I think, in the first 2 innings, and they lost like 5-2 or something like that, 5-3 against the Cubs. I think it was over the weekend he pitched. He said he'd like to make some things different, but you never know. I mean, he also admitted, and other people admitted, that he was really trying to pitch as well as he possibly could. So he probably put a lot of pressure on himself. So more than likely he would be he would be, hopefully his next start will be better. So, all right, let's get into some things I have up here um, in just a second. Their two best everyday players or position players are Andrew Vaughn, the first baseman, and Luis and Nathaniel. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's Robert, correct? You don't pronounce Robert. Um, Vaughn has 13 home runs. He's batting 235. Luis has 12 home runs and he's batting 214. I think he's a leadoff guy though. 214 is not a good batting average, but he only has 26 RBIs. Vaughn has 50, but I'm pretty sure Luis is he's the first in the lineup. He leads off, so I think he steals bases. But so they're so they really their offense. They don't have much of an offense. Let's just say those are maybe two of three guys with double-digit home runs. Why put an amazing guy on a crapshoot team? They should have done that. Yeah, I mean, they should have probably blown out Crochet and Robert. They probably should have traded both of them and just said, we're starting over. We're going to be the Miami Marlins this year. We're going to have young guys out there and hopefully they can contribute in all of that, but they didn't do it. Okay. So let's get into the two other teams that have more losses in a row than this year's Chicago White Sox. Yeah, Robert. Okay. Okay. First off, as I mentioned, the 1961 Philadelphia Phillies lost the most games in a row at 23 games in a row in Major League Baseball history. Now, I'm going to tell you, and I spelled the guy's name wrong. It's Demeter. I don't know why but the Philadelphia Phillies of 1961, I have to tell you right now, they're really bad. They had a really bad team. I mean, they were really, really, really bad. It's hard to make an argument against them as being one of the worst teams. But a couple things to pull from it compared to the White Sox this year is the fact that there was a Hall of Famer on the team. Now, again, he had a horrible season. It's where my cursor is right here. If you can see, it was Robin Roberts. He was a starting pitcher. He's the first picture over there. He was 1-10, and his ERA was 5.85, which is inexcusable for Major League Baseball as a starting pitcher. So, yeah, that shed must have been brutal. Yeah. Oh well. Wait, the shed I put together, or are you talking about the Mets? I put a shed together yesterday and it beat me up. I mean, it was 100 degrees outside and I'm like, I can't do a show. That's Gabriel, you're right. It was awful. They were 47, 107, and 1. So I guess back in 1961, you could tie in a baseball game, which to me is kind of funny because you see that in football, you definitely see that in hockey, but you don't really see that in baseball. And they actually tied someone. So let's just go over some things. Their number one home run hitter was actually, I have the name spelled wrong. It's Don Demeter. He was a utility guy. He had 20 home runs, 68 RBIs. He batted 257. Now, the batting averages and the ERAs are going to come into play, as you see, with all of the teams I'm comparing to. Okay. And then they had Tony Gonzalez, who batted 277, and you can read up there 12 home runs, 58 RBIs. But Don Demeter and Tony Gonzalez are not household names. It's not Mickey Mantle. It's not even Duke Snyder. It's not, I mean, heck, it's I'm trying to think of a lesser known name. It's not Mookie Betts. I mean, these just aren't names that you see. Okay. But let me get into this. They did have a Hall of Famer, Robin Roberts. I just said that. Their manager was Gene Mauch. Now, Gene Mauch, he managed forever. If there's anybody out there who remembers, I mean, he managed for the Expos. He managed for the Angels. He managed, not Baltimore. He didn't manage the A's, but I think he managed Houston for a while, actually. One of the things that I find kind of interesting about this, about this 61 team, that the Phillies, they were so bad. They had a pitcher, he wasn't a great pitcher, by the name of Dallas Green. Dallas Green later became the manager of the Phillies and helped or managed the Phillies to their first ever World Series victory in 1980. Because as you may or may not realize, the Philadelphia Phillies are the worst Major League or have the most I believe they did at one time at least, had the most Major League Baseball losses of any other franchise. So they lost the most games in Major League Baseball throughout their history, which is, you would think that Philadelphia would have a better team, but they've only won 2 World Series, and the first one was in 1980. And the other one was just about 10, 12 years ago, I think. So, but Dallas Green was on the team. Gene Mauch was the manager. He was around forever. Dallas Green was a great manager with the Phillies. Now here we go. Team ERA. Their team ERA was 4.61. Their the average on the AL team was 4.01. So they were 0.60 worse. Their team batting average was 243, as opposed to up here where it says AL average 256. Hello, John Bucci. Go Phillies. Yeah, the Phillies are doing great this year, but in 61 did not have a great season. That was really, really, really bad. Nathaniel, you're welcome for the golf balls. Ron Sampson, pay attention. We'll be getting all that. Let's see. I wasn't listening. Who was that? The Hall of Fame team. Oh, okay. I got you. All right. So a couple things here. They had a pitcher with 11 wins. And the reason why I say that is, again, I don't think the White Sox are going to have anyone with double-digit wins. And then we have Gabriel, and he thinks he knows that last name of John. I'm assuming it's Bucci. I'm not always the best with names. You can ask the chat. So I apologize in advance for that, John. But okay, so they were 47, 107, and 1. Remember, the Chicago White Sox are 27 and 87. The Chicago White Sox would have to go 20 and 28 to match. Well, I guess they'd have to 20 and 28. Well, with that tie, anyway, to beat them, they would have to go 21 and 27, the White Sox, which I don't think they can do. Okay. So the Philadelphia Phillies were 47, 107, and 1 back in 61. Okay. I don't think that the White Sox are going to get 47 wins this year. They would have to go 21 and 27 the rest of the year to get to what would be 48 wins. I think they might tie them. That's one reason why I believe that the White Sox will be the worst team in Major League Baseball history because of the amount of or the lack of wins that they have. Plus, I wanted to also say that on the second to last bullet over here, I'm talking about one of their starting pitchers, Art Mahaffey. He was 11 and 19. He got to double digits. Hey, Nuke's here, everybody. All right. Bucci. Okay. Nuke's here. What else? I'm catching up with the chat. Silent fans, do you think it's a good idea to invite my grandfather on my show to talk about NFL training camp? Yeah, if he knows a lot about it, I don't see why that would hurt. I think that's a good idea. All right. So Art Mahaffey had 11 wins. I think no one on the White Sox will get 11 wins. A couple things to think about here, and these are just nerdy stats. Mahaffey pitched 219 innings. There will be no pitchers on the White Sox that pitched 219 innings. So whether you think it's better to have pitched more innings as opposed to the way it is today where they pitch less, I think it's a different era. I think 1961 is a different era of baseball, at least when it comes to pitching. If you think about relief pitchers, the way that they're used, I think that that's completely different. Plus, you have to remember this is before the DH for both leagues. This is 61. This is the DH doesn't come about in 12 years. Also, in 1961, there were only 18 teams. 18 teams. Now, the next team we'll be going over, the 88 Baltimore Orioles, there were 26 teams. So there was 8 more teams or 4 less than there is now. So not much of a difference in 88 till now, but you'll see why I believe Baltimore will be not as bad as the White Sox are this year. So based on the fact that they won't have a pitcher with double-digit wins, based on the fact that they played the same team multiple times, there were only 18 teams, they couldn't come up with any more victories. I think the White Sox are worse than the 61 Phillies based on that, having a Hall of Famer, which I realize we don't always know the Hall of Famers right now. So let's get back on the chats. What happened to the Sideline Fans Football League? We'll be having a fantasy football league. We just haven't picked it yet. I gotta give me a little bit of time. Give me a week or two, and I'll know what we're doing and when we're picking our people. Okay, what's this one? You know what? I have bold prediction on Crochet. I think he will get 13 wins because he needs to show off to his team and show that he is the best. It could be, but the only problem with that, Nathaniel, in my mind, is his team around him can't score runs. They're not good at hitting. Their team average, as you'll see in the second slide from now, they're batting 214 as a team. They can't score runs. Even if he pitches well, they're not going to win those games. All right, so Nuke's back. Well, you're going to win. Who's going to win? The fantasy? All right. So because of Art Mahaffey, because there was only 18 teams and you played, like, remember, there was no interleague play. You played the National League. There were only 8 teams in the National League. You played them all the time. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew the tendencies of the pitchers and the batters and all of that. Because if you figure there's 8 teams, that means there's only 7 other teams that you would play in the National League in 1961. I think 2 reasons. I think Phillies will have more wins than the Chicago White Sox, and I also want to say that probably we should start to think about having sort of baseball was different in 61. Should we go to 73? I don't know. That's when the DH came in. Should we go to the 90s and say that goes back? Baseball's a lot different, especially the way the pitchers are used. But the Phillies will have more wins than the White Sox. Okay, let's go to the 88 Baltimore Orioles now. The 88 Baltimore, I spent a lot of time on the Phillies there. The 88 Baltimore Orioles were sort of a product of their time. And here's what I mean by that. They had 2 Hall of Famers, 2 legitimate Hall of Famers, maybe even first ballot kinds of guys. I know Cal Ripken was. He had the consecutive games played, and I believe he also has 3,000 hits. Eddie Murray has, I think, 500 home runs, but remember, he's the guy that had a home run from the right side and the left side in games, okay? Legitimate. He might even have 3,000 hits as well. He was a really good all-around player. He even was traded or signed later in his career with the LA Dodgers, who didn't have a DH, and he continued to play first base. Very athletic. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say about this is Eddie Murray, the Hall of Famer, grew up by Ozzie Smith, the Hall of Fame Cardinals shortstop. They played, I believe it was high school baseball together. I'm sure they were on other teams. It was at like Southern California. I don't think it was San Diego. It was like Orange County, I believe, California. They grew up playing baseball together. So it's a really small world. It really is. I mean, can you think about a high school team with Eddie Murray and Ozzie Smith? I mean, pretty incredible just to think about. But you had Eddie Murray, you had Cal Ripken. Both of them hit above the AL average mark. They had over 20 home runs. They had over 80 RBIs. All right. Now, as some of you may or may not realize, Cal Ripken Jr., the shortstop, his dad was a manager and managed for like about a year and a half. I think he was late in the season. He joined. Actually, it's not a year and a half. He managed for a little bit over a year. He went 0-6, and they fired him, and they hired Hall of Famer for his playing, Frank Robinson. I missed the N in there, who took the team 54-101. Now, here's the thing to think about with this team and why they're not the worst team in Major League Baseball, although they lost 21 games in a row, which is one more than the White Sox, obviously. They had 2 Hall of Famers. They ended up having a Hall of Fame manager, and they have 54 wins. Again, the White Sox would be lucky to even get to 47 or 48 wins because right now they have 27. They had no pitcher with a record over 500. I mean, their pitching was really pathetic. It was Jose Batista was 6-15, Jay Tibbs was 4-15, Jeff Ballard 8-12, Mike Boddicker 6-12, Oswaldo Peraza was 5-7. And then if you look late in the stats, you see this pitcher that started 4 games, played in 4 games. He was 0-3 with a 9.82 ERA, and that's Curt Schilling. And whether you like him personally or not, he's probably the closest thing to a Hall of Famer who's not in the Hall of Fame that you'll see. Some people say that maybe because he didn't like the media, he's not in the Hall of Fame. Whatever is some folks say he was a little bit more of a showman. So anyway, I don't know, but he was on this team. Just another reason that I think that they're an interesting story. And with their 54 wins, there's no way, because with the Chicago White Sox would have to go 27-20 to just tie the Baltimore Orioles. So there's no way that's even going to happen. It's not going to happen. All right. So let's go to the last slide here, our White Sox. And I want to go to the third bullet. Okay, hold on. How do you feel? I'm catching up with the chat. How do you feel about the Orioles doing so well with not much money? Oh, look, I like the Orioles. I like their team. I think ever since it was sold, or the majority stake was sold from what's his face, they've been a lot better. I like the Orioles. They're a young, fun team to watch. Their pitching is a little questionable. They've had some injuries, and they kind of were flatlining there about a week or two ago. So they didn't look like they made tremendous moves, but I think the little moves that they made were good enough to sustain them. What's crazy about it is the Yankees, some of their folks like, LeMahieu and what is it Torres, who was benched or something like that. Like, they're all of a sudden very inconsistent. A lot of their players are, and you can't win just based on Aaron Judge. You can't. You need more people than one, because what will happen is, and he started to get it this weekend, Aaron Judge, but he'll start getting walked all the time. The people won't pitch to him anymore. He won't be getting those home runs. He won't be getting those big hits. He won't have those great at bats anymore, because they'll just put him on, because they know that a lot of the other players aren't as good hitters and don't scare the other team or the pitcher as much. So, yeah, so Murray had that connection to Smith. It's like having a high school team with, yes, it's like having, well, Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. Ozzie Smith was neither one of them, but it's like, because Ozzie was not a home run hitter. He was good defensively. He came on and became a better hitter. I mean, when he started out, he was a 220 hitter, but he ended up being 270, 280 later in his career. I think he was a 260, 270 lifetime kind of hitter and had over 2,000 hits. But he also had a lot of stolen bases. So it'd be more like, I don't know, maybe Mookie Betts and Aaron Judge playing together. I'm trying to think who might be Ellie De La Cruz, maybe, although he hits a lot of home runs, I think. Mark this date, 8-5. Nathaniel Sampson says the White Sox will get 50 wins. I know it is a hard goal, but I think by the end of the season, so that means they'll go 23-25, which they don't have that winning percentage at all right now. So that'll be interesting. Okay, well, I'll screenshot this. How about that? If I can remember here. Oh, no, I didn't do it. I'm going to screenshot this so we have a proof. All right. Yeah, Torres has not lived up to some expectations, but all in all, so I don't believe that the White Sox will have 47 wins like the 61 Phillies. I'm almost positive they won't have 54 wins like the 88 Orioles. Now, if they win tonight, does that make them a better team? Does that not make them one of the worst teams? I think it still does, because they're not going to have those wins. They're not going to have the number of wins that the other two teams with those 23 and 21 losses has. So there's all of that. Let's just go over this real quick. A couple things to look at. Um, Andrew Vaughn, their first baseman, 13 homers, 15 RBIs. He's batting 235. The AL average is 243, so he's less than the average. Luis Robert has 12 homers, 26 RBIs. He's a leadoff guy. He's batting 214, which is almost 30 points below the AL average. What I'm saying is their best players are hitting way below the average. They don't have any head toppers. They don't have anyone that can hit very well to guide them. Their manager, is it Griefel? The I usually in Spanish is pronounced like an E. I'm saying Griefel, but maybe it's Greifel. He would have to be 20 and 28 to tie the Philadelphia Phillies, although the Phillies had that one tie, or 27 and 21 to reach what the 88 Orioles. Now, here's something. They were almost 80 points higher. Their team ERA is 4.87. The AL average is 4.08. They're almost 80 points higher in ERA, which is more than either one of the teams. Maybe not Baltimore, though. Baltimore is about 80. Let's see. 454. Yeah, they were 82, actually. Baltimore, right? 82. Okay, well, they're pretty close to Baltimore, but their hitting is putrid. As we know, the AL average is 243. They're batting 217 as a team, which, I mean, think about it, everybody. 217 barely keeps you in the major leagues if you're one player. This is a whole team's average. This means of the 20, or not 25, of the 10 pitchers, 15 position players, they're averaging 217, which wouldn't even keep them in the major league. So, all right, let's get caught up on chats. My brother and my dad are going to the Yankees and Angels game tomorrow. Oh, that'll be fun. That's good. The Angels are having a really tough season. Scratch that. That was some horrible guessing, but I think they will get the 43. So you think they'll get the 43, which is still less than the 47 of the Phillies in 61 and the 54 of Baltimore. The White Sox bullpen is trash. That is why when Crochet comes in and goes 7 innings and the bats aren't that good, but the bullpen just blows the same. Yep, the save opportunity. Yeah. There you have it. And that's why I think the Chicago White Sox are the worst team in Major League Baseball ever. That's why. They'll have so few wins and they've had so many losses in a row. Plus, they almost have the bare minimum of talent right now. So that's really my whole sell on the White Sox. Have you guys been watching the Olympics? Do you have any takeaways from the Olympics? Now that we got done with the White Sox chat, I just thought I'd see if anybody liked anything. I haven't watched any basketball recently. I haven't watched any soccer recently. I've been busy. Like I said, on Sunday, I built a shed. On Saturday, the family and I went on a little day trip. So I haven't really been watching it as closely as I was hoping to have. And then today I had a meeting, like a 7-hour meeting for work. So that was, wait, this is a bit off too, but you have been watching the Olympics. Yes, yo. Hey, King Mellon, glad to have you on board. Don't forget everybody who's on the chat right now. I should have done this when we had more people online, but don't forget to like. And if you don't subscribe, please do. Noah Lyles for the 100-meter. Yes, that was a big win. I think that I think my daughter says Sha'Carri Richardson's silver medal was kind of a bummer. I think we all thought, or a lot of the people from the USA thought, that she would win gold, but she got a silver, which I don't have a silver, so that I'm still proud of her. But I think some people thought that she would win gold, and just didn't have a race. Now she had to race in water or in rain, so I don't know how much that affected her. I mean, sometimes just the mental aspect of that, if you don't like rain, you may not run as well. You may be tense. So, did I hear what happened with the Olympics? Which aspect of the there's been I first of all, I'm not going to talk about the boxing or any of that stuff. I don't want to have that discussion about the boxing, and I don't want to have the discussion about the opening ceremony and any of what it betrayed or what it didn't portray. Now I'm getting all confused. Like what it looked like and what it didn't look like. I'm not going to get into any of that. I'm not going to talk about the boxing thing because all you have to do is look at that boxer's like last press conference. She was upset. She had a statement, and I think things went way out of control. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I feel bad for her because she was misunderstood at best, or it was just a really horrible situation. Okay, all these women got locked out of the practice area for the 200-meter, then a bunch of them dropped out. Yes, there was something like that. The other thing I heard, Nathaniel, maybe someone on chat, King Mellon or Nuke or anybody else who's still out there, the one thing I heard too was there was a female pole vaulter, I think this was over the weekend, who couldn't find her pole, had to borrow a pole and didn't make the height. And then, like, I don't know, hours later or after her competition for like medals, I think it was, they found her pole among the polls of the people who didn't qualify for the finals. So someone had sorted it, I guess, as you would say, into the pile of people who weren't competing, and it probably caused her not to medal. So I feel bad about that. I mean, unfortunately, those things happen. That was one heck of a mess up, to say the least. So yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I'll start watching basketball again now that my schedule's a little bit back to normal. I'm excited about that. See how we're doing or the USA is doing in soccer. I know a lot of people like gymnastics. I didn't really watch much of the gymnastics. I probably watched more gymnastics when I was growing up than I do now. I kind of stick to the sports that I follow on a regular basis. I was watching volleyball, not beach volleyball, but just regular volleyball. And I really enjoyed that. It was the men were playing. And I missed a lot of the rugby, but the rugby match, the sevens, it was the USA's, I think it was the bronze medal match, sevens rugby, which means it was 7-on-7 rather than 11-on-11. And how we won the bronze medal, we won that competition on like a last second play. I thought that was phenomenal. That was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you just don't see that in sports all the time, like a last second kind of thing. And then for it to be for a bronze medal, it's really cool. Now, the one thing I always say is that bronze medal team match to me is always interesting, because the gold medal match, whoever loses gets the silver, whoever wins gets the gold. So you might get a silver, but you might be bummed that you lost. The bronze medal, the third place medal, they finish with a win, which is kind of cool. You finish with a win. You didn't get the gold, but you finished the Olympics on a high note because you won. You're all in a good mood. But the silver medal team gets the loss. And we're talking team sports here. So all right, let's see. What does Nathaniel have here? Because those poles are probably fitted. Yeah, they're fitted to. Well, she probably knows her pole the way you know, like the wrinkles in your hand. I mean, she knows how it feels. She knows the weight of it. She knows where to put her hands. She probably has markings on it, or knows the markings on it and where her hands are. I mean, it would be like playing golf without your clubs. Now, I know people rent clubs, but it's still never the same. You heard one of the women is goated in rugby. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's also like one-off stories. Before I got on the live stream tonight, I was reading a story about a female US wrestler who's 20 years old and like wins all the time. And she's like a juggernaut. She doesn't lose. She's fantastic. And all right. So there's that. How's the basketball team doing? I don't think the men or the women team have lost. The women played today, and I believe this is in like their quarterfinals, and they won. So let's see. I can get you some information on that. Because the other thing, and I had mentioned this on one of my live streams about the Olympics, finding Olympic, not so much the basketball stuff, but finding Olympic information on some of the more obscure sports or, less than like rugby and things like that was actually kind of tough to find. Let's see. Results. Okay, today basketball. Oh, 3-on-3. Gold medal men's. Netherlands beat France. Yeah, 3-on-3. Okay, the US women's 3-on-3 team won the bronze, which isn't really, you know, I thought that they would have done a little bit better than that, but 3-on-3 is a whole different kind of sport though. I mean, it's not, as you know, like normal basketball. You almost want someone who's very all around good, who can do, defense and offense almost equal. Let me see on basketball. I thought, did they not play today? See, I was in an all day meet. Okay, men's basketball. Okay, the US plays Brazil tomorrow. The women's soccer team plays Germany tomorrow. Let's see. So the women's basketball probably plays Wednesday. Yeah, women's basketball plays on Wednesday, and the women's golf starts on Wednesday. I was I was happy for Scheffler winning the men's gold in golf. I thought that was kind of interesting. So Caleb Dress didn't make the final in both of his main events and was seen crying in the back, but he turned it around in the relay and placed second for his team. Yes, he did. Yeah, 3-on-3 is cool because it's like street ball, which you would think that the USA would dominate that, but they didn't. Um, yes, I was counting dimples on all the golf balls, Nathaniel. That's what I did all day today. It took me 7 hours. So, anyway, hey, I will. We will definitely have a show tomorrow. Now, here's the thing. I don't know who's still on the line. I don't know if Nuke's around, or I think Gabriel has signed off and all that. What are you guys thinking tomorrow? You want to do like a you name the player, I show you the picture kind of thing? We want to get back to some of that, toss it around, make it a little fun. We can talk a little bit of Olympics after that. So we'll do something a little bit that we haven't done in a while. So um anyway, so that's what I'm thinking about tomorrow. I don't know if there's going to be a show Wednesday. There definitely will be on Thursday. So I will see you all tomorrow at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, or that's 6 o'clock Pacific. Oh, your baseball. Oh, good luck tomorrow, Nathaniel. All right, good luck tomorrow. That should be great. All right, you guys might be at the game. I totally understand. I'd be at the game too. All right, talk to you guys. We'll be on tomorrow, and if I don't talk to some of you, we'll talk again maybe Wednesday, definitely on Thursday. Take care. Thank you.